Oh, 21. We stand corrected. You ready
21.
to get corrected today, buddy?
Yes,
We
sir. Are
got a
you?
special guest to get corrected on today.
Today we're going to introduce Sam from Archerynmotion. He's going to talk to us about some archery hunting and some moving targets that he's introducing.
I go ham on a bullet beat combined to Il Brio. Call the homies up and make tracks with my people. Cause when we join forces, we know that he is with us. We talk to him and keep a strong witness. So when I say I'm gonna take you to church, I really take you to church.
Hey, Sam, thanks for joining us today.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Doing well.
Excellent. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. It's going to be fun.
So, you got a company named Archerynmotion?
That's one of them.
Oh, you got many. What else do you got?
I've got a couple, yeah. So, first one is Archerynmotion, and that's a moving target business for 3D archery or firearms targets. So, think anything from an armadillo to the full-size buffalo, or a steel plate or cardboard target on it, like an IDPA type target. And we can get them moving around so you're shooting at active moving targets. Like I said, that's one of them. The other one is the Valor Archery Challenge, which is a 3D archery event designed for the military and veteran community. April 2025. It's going to be right down here at Fort Carson. So
Nice, man. So, how long have you been doing this Archerynmotion?
just shy of 2 years for that
You
one.
just started up, and
And then Valor's about 6 months old.
how's it doing?
It's good. 2024, I took it across the country. So from Utah to Pennsylvania, and from New Mexico all the way to Wisconsin. So had 16 different events, bunch of podcasts, a couple different radio shows like yours. Overall, probably had it in front of near 300,000 shooters. Lots of people shooting at it. Everybody enjoys shooting at it. Few people got humbled. Well, most everybody got humbled by it, especially when you put a steel plate target on it, and then they really get humbled.
Yeah. So, when you're talking shows, are you going to like the Sportsman's Expo shows? And
So I was at the I was at the Colorado Sportsman's Outdoorsman Days down in Florence, Colorado in August. I was in April. I was up at the Outdoorsman or Sportsman Expo in Gaylord of the Rockies. And then going to different 3D archery events. So whether that was Western Hunt Fest or Montage Mountain Archery Fest, bunch of different events across the country.
okay. And so, obviously, the purpose is, I'm guessing, is to help hunters on kind of like that angle shot and movement, like if you're sitting up in a blind, basically.
For those that shoot out of a blind, this makes it a little bit better practice. For those of us bow hunters in Colorado or the western states that don't normally sit in blinds, this makes a realistic shot. So we can, the wireless control will go out to 100 yards, which if you're hunting big game in Colorado, there's a chance you're taking a shot that far. 60, 70 yards on a mule deer or a elk is not unreasonable. Even 80 yards on a pronghorn if you're good. But this helps develop that skill set so that you understand how fast your arrow is truly moving outside of just my bow shoots 289 feet per second, but it puts reality to it, and so that if the animal's moving, the target's moving, you understand where that arrow is going to land by the time it gets out there a distance.
Man, that's cool because I felt like I was always a beginner bow hunter. I don't think I ever advanced from beginner, honestly. Like, I tried it a few years with my buddy, and just as a hobby to take up on it, and we'd go to the archery ranges around town in the springs, and I think there's one at Bear Creek that we used to go to. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And that's where we started, was right there. And I felt like I was pretty good, like on a level plane. Like I could get pretty dialed in. But we went on our first hunt.
This takes that to a whole different
Yeah,
level.
when we went on our first hunt and was just playing around because I'll go deer and elk. I tried it with deer because I wasn't about to go all in on the elk hunt yet, just to get a feel. And
Sure.
man, we saw a whole bunch of deer, but I couldn't hit shit because I didn't know how to aim uphill quite yet or figure it out. I bet you I shot like 10 I ruined like 10 arrows in this whole trip when I could have been done like on one time. Man. So like
Yeah.
having this, and this was probably 10 plus years ago when we did this, and I mean, knowing something like this and being able to either shoot out of a blind or shoot, out of a tree, or, something where I can learn to gauge the elevation, man, is key, because I was definitely a beginner.
And there's truth in that. If you're not used to making those practice shots, and when it comes to reality, yeah, it's a whole lot harder to get there. For me, it was more of I can go to a lot of the 3D archery events and I can 10 ring on most shots because it's a stationary target and you got all the time in the world. When you put it out there at 40, 50, 60 yards and it's moving, that's a whole different ballgame. And I have a slightly broken sense of humor because I spent time in the military. So I like to put that moving target out there at distance, usually between a couple trees or a couple shrubs, to where it's got 10 foot worth of range of motion. You may only have a 2 foot to 3 foot window of shooting lane. So it makes it a realistic shot for when you're up in the woods.
No, I believe that.
That's really cool.
How do you set it up? So you go out, you pick somewhere in the national forest and try and recreate that shot, and then what?
So for Montage Mountain out in Pennsylvania, they invited us to come out there and set it up, one on the course and then one is a novelty shot. The one on the course we ended up putting out at about 60 plus yards up the ski slope. So that not only are you shooting at a moving target, but you're shooting up a ski slope. Way different for most of the folks in Pennsylvania because they're used to shooting out of a tree stand 20 yards or less, straight through an animal down to the ground. So this was a little bit different. Moving target made it a whole lot more challenging for them. We put a whitetail on it so that it simulated what they're used to shooting. But that was a humbling experience for most. They would either miss the target completely, or if they did hit it while it was in motion, most of those shots were either guts or in the butt. So humbling experience for most. When we had the target over on the novelty shot or novelty course, it was on a steel plate target, so 4-inch circle steel plate, 4-inch worth of foam. Now it was only 42 or 43 yards, and it only moves about 2 miles an hour, but that's steel plate's intimidating. Small target, 4-inch circle is very intimidating. Moving added a whole different level of complexity to it. And we watched a bunch of guys blow up a whole bunch of arrows with it.
Sam, can I ask how they work? Is it a remote control? Is it on some kind of a rail system? How does that go?
All of the above. So it is on a rail system. So we've got about a 56-pound cart with removable threaded rebar on the bottom of it that holds the target on it. And you can just change the rebar hole or change the rebar to whichever holes fits whatever size target. And then once you've got the target on it, it's a wireless controller about 2 inches by 1.5 inches by a 1/2 inch thick. And that runs a wireless control out all the way out to 100 yards. Designed so that a single shooter can operate it. So if I put that controller right on my bino harness on my draw cycle, I just leave my thumb out. I can hit the button. Now the target starts moving. Then I can settle in and let that arrow fly.
That's awesome. Now, I'm like Joe. I'm not a real bow hunter. I've never been. I don't think I even have the patience for it. So I give all the bow hunters out there a lot of credit. That they can hit something.
I was a rifle guy for years.
That those guys can hit something at 80 yards. I don't think I could at 10.
It's a lot of practice. I've been a bow hunter for about 14 years. I've been a hunter, whether it's rifle, bow, or shotgun, for about 36 years. So I hunted with a rifle for decades. I switched over to a bow about 14 years ago. The last 12 years I've been a solo bow hunter, so I go up in the woods all by my lonesome to go chase critters. And then when an animal hits the ground, it's time to hike it out, and it's just me. So
putting in the work, man.
Stay in shape and be ready to go.
Yeah, that bow hunting it's a lot more immersive. I mean, you have to get closer to the animals. It's really a totally different hunt.
It's a lot more fun, though. You can get interactive with all of the animals, and I didn't realize that till I started bow hunting, right? So for a rifle hunter, we get 7 days in Colorado to chase big game, regardless of whatever the season is or whatever the animal is. For bow hunting, we usually get about 20 to 30 days, which we get a lot longer season. Most of the tags are typically either sex tags for any of the animals. This year I managed to pull a elk, deer, and bear tag all for the same unit, all either sex tags. So it really didn't matter what was walking in front of me. Something was going in the cooler.
You going bear hunting? You going bear hunting with a bow? Oh man, dude, I don't know about that one.
Have you seen the bears in Colorado, man? He could probably
Oh,
tackle
still.
them.
Yeah.
I'd still be
It's all
scared.
It's still a. You hear that death moan, you still give them 20 or 30 minutes just to make sure.
I'd probably give him an hour.
Yeah.
So back to this archery with the steel plate.
Yeah.
So do you sell the steel plate with your kid, or do you sell the animal that can go on there?
So I have really good partner discounts with the manufacturers. I don't make the targets themselves. There's already 5 major manufacturers in the U.S. Partnered with 3 out of the 5 of them. They give me some decent discounts for if you buy my mover, we can figure out how to price a target so that it matches up with it for it. Most of the target manufacturers, I've already worked with all of them, know what their dimensions are, know what their weights are, and I know what's going to work and at what distance. So it's really not that bad to get out there and start shooting at some moving targets.
Yeah, and it's got to increase your success rate though too. I mean,
It does.
What gave you that
Yes.
idea?
This year I put 2 elk and a mule deer in the freezer.
Yeah, that's always good. What gave you that idea to start this?
So, kind of what I was mentioning earlier, right? I can go to most of these 3D events and I can put arrows in a 10 ring or an 11 ring pretty repetitively, and I got bored. I was a tank mechanic in the Army, so I got to experience a little bit of welding, dealing with some heavy steel. I got injured, got out of the Army, spent the next 20 years working in IT, started taking up bow hunting, archery as therapy, and then I realized I wanted to get away from IT. Let's start something on my own. Looking around, well, I'm bored with shooting at stationary targets. Let's build something that moves. Put it together, a couple prototypes. My buddies and I got a chance to shoot it, and they all went, you need to make a business out of this. So I did. And we took it across the country in 2024. A lot of people shot it. A lot of people had fun with it. Humbled most. But what I realized is that all those different events, none of them were really focused in that military and veteran community space. So that's why I spun up Valor Archery Challenge. I can now utilize the moving target as I want, as it's really designed to be used. Bring it into the military and veteran community. Offer archery as a therapy to that military and veteran community space. Bring the VSOs and all those different organizations into the mix. And now it's a much bigger community event rather than just an archery event.
That's really cool. Do you get a lot of like entry level? I mean, like if I was wanting to get my kid into archery, do they do anything for the kids? And
Yep. So I will be one of the only 3D archery events that actually offers not only rental gear with beginner level bows as well as coaches on site. So yes.
that's cool. So you have like smaller bows for the kids and all that stuff.
Yep.
That's excellent.
Yep. All the way down to about a 12-pound pull, so it's really not that hard to get back. You're not burning out anybody's shoulders. And then I've got some entry-level adult trad bows as well. And then, like I said, I've got a good group of volunteer coaches that are right there with me to say, hey, you run the event, we'll help make sure everybody's actually shooting and hitting some targets.
How many
Very
events you got
cool.
lined up this year?
So right now I'm looking at scheduling 4, all of them down here at Fort Carson.
There you go, Curtis. Right down the street
Yeah.
from you, man.
Yeah, so I might have to go I might come down and watch the next time you're down there. It just sounds interesting to me.
Don't come down and watch, come down
Yeah,
and play.
dude.
I'll
You
come
need to
down
go
and
shoot. I'll even let you take my bow if you come.
All right.
Ooh.
You
You're
got to be
coming
able to
with.
pull. You got to be able to pull 70 pounds back at least, though. So
Oh, come on now.
Let the trash talk.
hey, yeah.
Oh, it
I've
never
seen him-
ends here.
You should see him throw axes. I mean, man, the guy's a stud.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole nother story there.
Axes are fun. I've done that a handful of times. That's an enjoyable afternoon.
The
So-
safest place when I do it's right in front of me.
Are you
Because the axes go everywhere else.
Yeah.
are you doing it right there on that new shooting range right there off I-25 on Fort Carson? Is that where you're doing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. So where that range is, anything facing west is all gun range. So whether that's high power rifle, pistol, or shotgun, and we're going to take over anything facing east towards the highway. 2 different courses: entry level course, which will be about 15 targets. Everything's 20 yards or less. Perfect broadside. So build that skill set, build that level of confidence. Once you get past that one, there will be an intermediate course that goes out to probably 50 yards. As you get through that course, it's progressively going to get harder, so that it's half the targets will be broadside, the rest will be either quartering to or quartering away, and by the time you get towards the tail end of that course, we're going to have a couple moving targets integrated into that and really make you work for it.
So it's basically a progressive design course.
Yep.
Which is very good. And
so that if you've never shot before, you've got a level of entry level all the way to success, and then a little bit of challenge, Valor Archery Challenge, a little bit of challenge at the tail end of that so you understand what it's really like.
What are the dates on?
And that'll either get you hooked or completely push you out.
Oh, you'll get hooked. Trust me. That's how I got hooked, was doing something like that.
Yep. Archery's addictive.
What are the dates on that?
So April 19th is the first date scheduled. I'm also looking at a date in June, August, and October.
Okay. I'm going to keep that in mind because might have to dust off the old bow, bring it out, man. What's the cost?
$40 per person.
Oh, that's not terrible at all.
For those that served in the military, were either active military or veteran, that cost includes access to both courses, as well as a challenge coin for those and a raffle ticket. The raffle tickets are the key part. I'll come back to that. So those that never served, you're still invited to come play as long as you bring a veteran along with you. Now, back to that raffle piece. I've had crispy boots, Wiley sunglasses, Phelps game calls, Slayer calls, Element drink, Lancaster archery. Oh, I'm missing somebody already. Iron Infidel and a couple others have already offered up some really cool raffle prizes to go along with this for those raffle prizes. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun event.
Good. And then do you got any other events that aren't local signed up, ready to go?
Not yet. I know Montage Mountain out in Pennsylvania, they want me out there again. We'll see if I want to make that 26-hour drive again. But, yeah, that's the only question mark. Everything else is probably going to be local.
What's the setup? Go ahead, Curtis.
Oh, sorry. Do you do any like private events? If somebody wanted to have a company picnic or let's say a family reunion, would you come out and do the setup for something like that?
If you've got a space that I can make it work, then yes. I don't have a space personally that I can just set up and build in my own range. As much as I would love to have that, that's potentially business number 3. So we're going to get there. But yeah, if you've got somewhere that's got some space and some property and we can set up a functional course, yeah, I can absolutely make that happen.
Okay, very cool.
What's it take to set up your...
So, what is it, January 11th, I'm going down to Alamosa to meet with the Valley Vet Rec crew for a 3D archery event for the veterans that live down in the Alamosa Valley. So, yeah.
Excellent.
What is it?
Go ahead, Joe.
What does it take to set up that Archerynmotion? Is it pretty easy?
It is. So when I first designed it, I had 5 requirements rather. Had to fit in the back of my Tacoma, had to be set up by myself or taken down in under 20 minutes, had to fit a range of targets, and it had to be wireless controlled that a single person could use. So it meets all 5 of those requirements. Now granted, it's mine. I've been setting them up across the country, done it a bunch of times. So I'm at about a 14-minute window to get it set up by myself and functional. Whether that's running off a generator and generator to battery, or whether that's running off a solar panel over to battery as well. So it really is quick to set up.
What's the cost on that?
Depends on the model. So 8-foot straight line mover, you're talking just shy of $2,000. When we go to a 10-foot mover with a solar panel, now you're in about a $2,500 range. And then I've got one in prototype, which is commonly referred to as the Monster, and that's a 64-foot oval track. But it gives you quartering to, quartering away, broadside, frontal, and 12-foot distance change all in that same shot scenario. That one's running a little north of $10,000.
Wow. And are you building these, or you have somebody else building them?
Right now, I'm doing all of it. So, like I said, I spent a little bit of time in the Army working on tanks, getting some welding experience, and so I'm bringing that to the table. All that time in IT brought that experience to the table as well. So, really doesn't take me long to get one of these set up. The only thing that's really going out is to get everything powder coated.
Yeah. What's your build time? I'm just curious.
Probably for the 10-foot mover, we're probably talking at about 3 to 5 days.
That's not terrible. I mean, man, you're going to be on Shark Tank here soon because you're going to need some help.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same thing.
I've applied the last 2 years to the Veteran Shark Tank, which is a similar, but it's strictly designed for the veteran community. Done a handful of pitch competitions across the country as well. In the last year, I've gone through 4 different entrepreneur programs. Most of them were veteran related, but one wasn't. So yeah, I've got the experience out there. Now it's just a factor of getting the businesses rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Are you making good enough living though on it, obviously, to keep doing it and travel across the country?
It's keeping me entertained and mostly out of trouble. We're not making a fortune yet.
Well, good. Good. Can we talk some hunting then?
Absolutely.
Oh man. So did you fill all 3 tags this year?
Yep, 2 elk and a mule deer. Didn't see any bears, so that one stayed safe. Chased turkey for a couple days, never could connect with any of them. And then had a pronghorn tag that I never even got a chance to use. So
yeah, a
couple tags went to waste, but when you're filling it with elk, it doesn't matter.
Are you hitting the turkey with the archery?
Oh yeah. Yep, grouse, turkey, that's all with a bow.
Where are you?
The only thing
So obviously you're taking your dog then grouse hunting. No?
That's usually during elk season.
Yeah.
So you can't have the dog up there during elk season. So, and grouse is only 2 or 3 days, so it's not worth coming down, picking him up, taking him back up the mountain. So usually when I'm walking along, looking around for elk, grouse in Colorado, you're just about stepping on them before they jump up and scare the crap out of you.
The way they fly.
So if I happen to see one up ahead of me 20 feet.
That's a cool bird though when they fly, man. That is a cool bird.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one,
awesome.
Curtis?
They're just
I have. They're really neat.
Yeah. So can I ask what area you hunt in?
You can.
Well, where are you going? I want to know.
So normally Northwest Colorado. I hunted over in Craig area for a number of years. 2 years now. The winter kill off over there a couple of years ago, really wiped out those numbers. So I had to bump a little south. So this year and last year I was down by Meeker, bouncing around in those areas, and that's pretty good success. So.
Well, do you ever do any pheasant hunting?
I was just out on Sunday for a pheasant hunt out east of town.
Where are you going?
Yeah, we got.
So I was part of the Sportsman's Expo, and I was a presenter down there back in August, and part of the Prop 127 support team. So now that we've beat that nasty little monster for now, Dan Gates and the Coloradoans for Responsible Wildlife Management took all of those supporters out to Rocky Mountain Roosters, and we had a pheasant hunt on Sunday. So
that's a cool place, man.
I was just gonna say I've been there before. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. Yeah, we had a ball.
Do you go?
Pretty sure everybody brought home a couple birds.
So how do you feel about the wolves then out in that area as you're hunting? Feeling any effects on that yet?
I'm not. And if you ask most in Colorado, there's a lot of mixed signals around wolves and what they feel about them. I'm okay with them being introduced. I'm not okay with where they did it. The goal was to think like Yellowstone National Park, where you reintroduce the wolves to populate the animals that weren't being hunted. That was the whole point of it. Instead,
so you're thinking like Estes Park, Rocky Mountain
National Park, right? Instead, they put them just in Walden area, which is a great hunting area all on its own right. I hunted there for decades. Now, those wolves have already figured out how to get into Rocky Mountain National Park. They just haven't found the 1,000 head of elk that are sitting in there yet. But once they do, it's really going to be a fun game because most of those elk in Rocky Mountain National Park have never been hunted in any of our lifetimes.
Well, yeah, they're very calm.
There's some big monsters. Yeah, there's some monsters that'll be pushed out of there, and it'll really be some good hunting for a few years.
So you said you got 2 elk down this year?
Yes, sir.
So you're doing one private land hunt then, I assume? And no? All public?
Nope. So one was a draw tag and the other was over the counter.
Gotcha. Nice.
So, like I said, the draw units was, for draw, I had either sex deer, elk, and bear all for the same unit, and then my over-the-counter was just one unit north of that, so I was able to just jump up one more unit, which was 15, 18 miles.
Nice. And were you able to call them in, or
step right back into kind of the same
So
area.
do you sit and call and wait, or do you kind of roam? How do you work your archery hunt?
So I do a lot of roaming. I do a lot of e-scouting ahead of time, so I know kind of where I want to be, what areas I want to walk to. I've got a lot of things pre-planned and mapped before I ever hit the woods. Because Meeker, that area is a 4.5 to 5 hour drive from my house. I'm not going to go scout it every weekend just to make sure. I'd rather do all my e-scouting ahead of time and have a plan. And I'll probably have 6 or 7 plans before I even hit the woods.
Are you throwing up cameras too? No?
Nope. Again, too long of a drive just to go set up a camera and check it once every 2
Well,
weeks.
see, I get the wireless
It's
ones
just not
though,
worth
man.
it.
You ever tried those?
I have, but you know that the morning that the hunting season starts, those are now illegal.
Yeah, so you got to go pull them down.
I have to come down 2 days before season starts. Yeah, it's like the drone. I'm licensed drone pilot. I would love to be able to go fly the drone. Well, I can't do that until after my hunting season is over. Things already have to be in the cooler so that I can take the drone up and fly it around.
Now, do you process your own meat, or do you take it somewhere?
No, I do all of it. So from field to freezer and then back to table. So I have a wonderful wife that's exceptionally understanding. She even helps me process it. So I'll call her on my way home. She'll have the kitchen fully wrapped up in butcher paper. And then by the time I get home, I'm bringing in quarters. She'll help me cut it and quarter it and get it chopped up and processed and in the freezer bags and down into the freezer. And then we're off to the next weekend.
He's doing all this by himself, dude.
That's excellent, man. I helped a friend do it a couple times, and that's actually a lot of work. There's a lot more animal there than you realize.
Yes. Yep. So I do a gutless method up in the woods. So for a mule deer, that's probably just shy of 2 hours. On an elk, it's just shy of 4 hours, just worth of cut up work and getting everything in game bags. Then it's a solo hunt, pack out to get everything back out to the truck. By the time I get it home, processing a deer is probably somewhere between all the butchering, the grinding, and everything else. It's probably another 4+ hours. And then on an elk, that's usually like 6 or 7 per elk. So yeah, it's a time suck, but it's absolutely worth it.
How many trips does it take you to pull that elk out on your own?
Almost 6. So usually 5 at least. And just depends on how big they are anymore. I don't go for great big monster bulls. I'm happy with a cow because I'm getting older and it hurts to hike them out.
Yeah. How deep are you getting in the woods when you're doing this?
So my first elk this year was a little over a mile from the truck. So not deep, but deep enough that I lost track of everybody else because most of the guys were only going half a mile from their camp spots. So I got a little bit deeper, got a little into a couple ugly spots, went through a couple blowdown areas, figured out how to work around those on my way back out. But a mile isn't so bad. And that was to pack them back out probably 4 to 5 hours, something like that.
Do you have a preference? What do you like? Deer, elk? I mean, what's your favorite game?
You know, they all taste good in the freezer. Mule deer is actually my favorite, and they're smaller, they're lighter, but they're also, to me, they have a little bit better flavor, especially the mule deer on the western slope, because they're not quite pronghorn eating sage, but they're close. They're a mixture of that sage and whatever else, acorns that they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have a pretty good flavor over there. Elk is always good, can't go wrong, but you got to work a lot harder for an elk.
That's very true.
I always feel like we got a lot of private property that surrounds where we hunt. I always feel like some of the local hunt guides kind of push them out right before the season opens. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
yeah, it's been known to happen. Walden and some of those ranching for wildlife areas, you definitely, in years past, I definitely had seen it and heard it, where you hear the quads rolling every half hour to keep the animals either on the property or away from that fence line.
Yeah, I always feel like they're running like bikes through the woods too and trying to spook. I don't know if I've caught people on cameras doing that when I try and scout too, when I throw up cameras.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen guys come out of the woods at 4 a.m. as we're trying to go up and hunt and back onto the main road, and so that's where I feel like I'm getting this from. And so
that's
it is, but what are you going to do? Like, you got to catch them in the act, and
even then, it's not going to make that much difference unless you can turn them in.
It is, and
can't really hold them in spot.
Let me go on your charcoal lab here, since I got a charcoal lab.
Sure.
So he's 3. I think mine's.
Yep.
I want to say mine's 4. I can't remember. I think I got him in 2020, so he's got to be.
Okay.
He might be going on 4. So, but he loves to bird hunt, so we'll take him out on quail.
Yeah.
It's pretty elusive. He's got a pretty good nose. Hard mouth, though. I can't get him to get a softer mouth.
This one, he's been really good. You know, like I said, there's a lot of training that was involved when he was younger, and a lot of training hunts that we went on. I can get him to find the birds. I can get him to, pop the birds up. I can get him to go chase the birds. It's letting go of the birds after he gets them, and bring them back. It's his prize.
Yeah.
So that's usually a fight of getting the bird back from him, but otherwise it's good.
Oh, good. Good. He seems to enjoy it. My dog goes wild for it. I mean, he'll run his heart off until he has a heart attack if you don't stop him.
Right. So out of Rocky Mountain Roosters, there's no ground shots allowed. But there was a bunny that popped up, and while he wears an e-collar the whole time we're out there, I let him chase that bunny for probably 100 yards or better, and then I did a really loud whistle, and he immediately stopped, spun around, came right back. The other 2 dogs that were with the guide that was with us, his 2 dogs, the guide's over there hitting the buttons on the e-collars, and they could care less because they're in the middle of chasing that bunny.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun to watch them work. I mean,
it is, and it's good for them.
Yeah.
They're designed for that purpose. Now, when I first got this one, like I said, 8 weeks old, out of a breeder up in Cheyenne, I said, okay, how big's mom? Mom's 78 pounds. Cool. How big's dad? 82. All right, that's a reasonable size. That's manageable from a lab perspective. It's a good size hunting dog. I can work with that. Well, here we are. I just had him in the vet yesterday, had him weighed, and he's 92 pounds. So he is just a tank.
Yeah, that's where mine is. I think he's a 96. As of last May. I don't think he's weighed much more, if any. But yeah, he don't like this guy next to us over here. He could care less for him.
Not at all. He wants to eat my face off.
That happens.
You're
just not taking the right treats over, Curtis.
Yeah, he's not taking
I don't know, man. I'd be afraid to.
He acts big and bad, but when you start chasing him around, he runs like a scalded dog, man. And it's so funny. Like, he's got a big, mean bark, but the moment you come after him, he runs, and he's a pansy.
Joe's sent me some pictures before where the dog got into the trash, and he knows he's in trouble. He won't come in the house. He just sits in the front yard and stares at him.
No.
Yep. Yeah, that's him. But, well, I'd like to thank you for chatting with us today, Sam.
Guys, I appreciate the invite. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Sure. I look forward to when you're out at Fort Carson next time. I'm going to, if you could send
April
us
19th, come on down.
Yeah, I might just do that. Bring the guy in the beanie with me.
That's right. Come on down. Come play.
All right.
Like I said, if you're not comfortable, we'll set you up on the easy course. You'll be fine. If you're feeling froggy, step on over to the other side. You're going to work for it.
I'll be the easy
I'll probably
course
have
guy.
a couple novelty shots. I've already built out a couple steel plate trees that are going to be in the way. So not only are you going to be shooting the moving target, but if the shot's not accurate, you're going to be hitting the steel trees.
All right.
That means you're going to be ruining field points on me, dude.
Not just field points. You're shattering arrows.
Yeah, true that.
So we're going to make you work for it a little bit. But like I said, it's going to be a fun time, a lot of camaraderie. Veteran Service Organization, try that again, Veteran Service Organization, so VFW, American Legion, Wounded Warrior Project, Salute Colorado, Mount Carmel, Next Chapter, all said, yeah, we absolutely want to be there. We want to have a booth. Cool. I've probably another half a dozen or so veteran hunting organizations, whether it's hunting or fishing, but half a dozen of those groups have all said, yeah, we'd love to have a booth. So they're going to be there talking to different folks. Active or veteran, doesn't matter, to get you signed up so that they can take you out on an outdoor adventure. And then I've got a couple retailers that are going to be there as well, but not heavy on the retailers side just yet, just because I want to make sure that it's really focused on that community space more than anything else.
Oh, cool. Before you get out of here, Sam, you gotta tell Curtis about the Mac world and why it's important.
So
Here we go.
Here we go. So, like Joe, I run a Mac. My wife runs a Mac. When something goes wrong with our Mac, you can walk into an Apple store and shake it out and go, "It's broken, fix it." And they're happy to help you. If you take your Dell, Lenovo, HP, whatever
ThinkPad.
Alienware branded hardware that you have, and you try to take it to a store, there is no store. So you can't shake it at anybody. On your Samsung phone, you can't shake it at anybody. But if you take your iPhone into the Apple store and you shake it at them, they go, "Yeah, we'll fix it." So if you buy stuff that is supported by a local, I can't say a local company, that's not really an accurate statement, but by a company that has a physical store, you're better off, and Apple works better than Windows all day long.
Yeah, and they last.
You know,
I was telling Joe before you got on, I had a 2006 MacBook. Outside of replacing hard drive and RAM, it lasted me over 10 years, to the point where Apple no longer supported the OS on that hardware, but the hardware was still good.
Yep.
you know, I can't knock
Can't
them all
get the
the
same out of
way.
your,
I've had
your
a
Windows machine.
I've had an iPad that I got, gosh, probably 12 years ago, and it worked just fine until the day I got rid of it. And you know, I've had this Dell for, gosh, Joe, what, a year?
Yep.
And it's yeah, this is twice now that we've had this problem. So it might get wings and fly, and I might just have to switch to a MacBook.
It's okay. Just step off the edge. Costs a little bit more, but the longevity of it is
You
much
do
better.
pay for the money and the longevity of it. Like, because I had a MacBook Pro, I think I bought in '06 that I kept till like 2015. And so,
You know, the money's worth it though. If you get a good quality thing that's going to last and it works reliably good all the time, it's worth the money.
I've never had a Apple update break my stuff. Can't say the same about Windows.
No, not at all.
or not know if it's going to start up ever again.
Well,
And I worked in IT for 22 years, so I understand the Windows world because that was my income. But yeah, it's questionable at best.
well, like today, you know, I go to log on to this thing and I click and it's like delayed. So I click the button and then it shows that it clicked on the screen like 5 seconds later. And then you just get the little spiraling circle of death happening for like 5 minutes. Yeah, that's when I told you I'm just going to try it from my damn phone.
Well, I'm glad you were able to join and be a part of the conversation.
Me too. I would, you know, we've been talking about having you on here. I hated to miss it, so I couldn't. I had to figure out something.
Bigger hammer.
That's
Yeah.
what they said. Bigger hammer. He had a work iPhone that he wouldn't even commit to. So
Oh, yeah. You might get me talked into a MacBook, but the iPhone, it's going to take some more work on that one.
once you get a
Once
MacBook
you
and
get
an
into
iPhone
one, it's
together,
easier to transition.
it's inseparable.
That's what I hear.
Yep. Can't go wrong. Gotta love it.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us, Sam.
Guys, I appreciate the
Yeah,
conversation.
thanks a lot. It's good talking to you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
And you. All right, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Later.